Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
All right, please note that the language and ideas presented on the show might not be suitable for everyone. If you're under 18, make sure your mom isn't around. If you're over 80, why is your mom around?
You're listening to Cyrus Says.
All right, we talked to Raj Kaushal, filmmaker and filmmaker, a man of many hats who now wants to find more from life. I told him, come with me, yaar, we'll go fishing.
Why follow your auntie's advice when you can follow Cyrus Says on Facebook and Twitter to stay updated about the latest shows?
Yesterday I came close to my first physical fight in 11 months. It was with an 85-year-old man whose name I shall not mention, Krishan. The problem with him is that he has no hair and was ahead of me in the line for the haircut at the local club. No hair and still putting down your name for 9:30 to 10? Why? Is it sarcasm? Is it stupidity? Positivity? What is it? What's the point? What's the point behind that? I ask you, if you have no hair, stop cutting it. Stop wasting the time of those who have a little left. It's called Cyrus Says.
And that's what Cyrus says.
Yes, it's called Cyrus Says, and no one remembers what episode we're on because most of the people listening are heavily medicated. But we do have a young man who's jumped into the studio. His name is Raj Koshall, writer, director, producer, a man who's been in the business for the last 25,000 years and has done over 5 million commercials, won many awards, made so much money that he wants to retire right now as we speak. And of course, we're going to go through his life and times. But first, we'll say hi. Hi, Raj.
Hi, Cyrus.
How are you doing? All good?
All wonderful, Cyrus.
I haven't seen you for a long time, Mr. Kaushal. And today's episode is, or rather webisode, is just for you. It's about you. And so I'm going to just let you say whatever you want. So we'll start with Raj. When were you born?
25,000 years ago.
25,000 years ago, when the earth was just an acorn, Raj Kaushal appeared out of nowhere and began his career towards greatness. Okay, I want to start with the whole advertising thing. We've actually done this podcast for a few years now, or over a year, and we haven't had an advertising person per se on it. And although you're not advertising in that sense, you're a filmmaker who had to deal with advertising. And, so let's just get into this whole, what was it like when you started off?
Well, I am advertising person, and then I became a filmmaker.
Amazing. So you were first, a copywriter?
I was a copywriter, yeah.
So take us through that early journey. Where were you from? What happened?
Well, I wanted to be a pilot, so I used to fly.
Which failed dreams again. It's always failed dreams in advertising.
It's actually not failed dreams. I was coming out of college, all of 19.
This is where?
Wilson College was where I passed out of.
Mumbai.
And at that very moment, what was planned was that I should go to Fort Worth, Texas, because all the skies were opening and Jet Airways and all of that was happening.
Excellent.
So the plan was to go and fly there. Of course, I didn't have the money. At that time, you need about 15 lakhs to do that.
15 lakhs a year?
15 lakhs for the entire thing. But 15 lakhs is a lot of money.
And this is what, the 90s sometime?
I would say, 89, 90.
My gosh, that's like probably a crore or something now.
A lot more. Because you could buy a motorcycle at 10,000 bucks.
Wow. So why did you ever leave that era? 10,000 bucks for a motorcycle.
Yeah,
15,000 bucks, you get someone to ride it.
Can you imagine? And 10 rupees was a petrol. A liter of
10
petrol.
bucks a litre in 89?
Yeah. Okay, I'm really sounding archaic now.
Wow. It was a good India. Who was ruling then?
Well, I don't know who was ruling then, but whoever's ruling now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Better check with them. Yeah.
So
the dream was to go to Fort Worth, wherever, Texas, and
be a pilot, finish my commercial flying. So it was 250 hours, didn't have the money. My older sister was a GJ. She was doing applied arts.
You mean Zeze?
Zeze.
Yeah.
So her final year project came up, and of course, art people can't write copy.
Right. Which batch was she in Zeze?
I would say 2 years after Mr. Raj Thackeray.
Oh, that's Kunal, my friend Kunal's batch.
Kunal was again her senior. Kunal was a senior.
Yeah, he's everybody's senior now. Because they all, the JJ people, like the Film Institute people, they
are one big happy rowdy family.
Yeah.
So that's when I got introduced to copywriting, because I ended up writing her project and 13 other projects. And of course.
But you were sitting at home?
Absolutely, I was still flying.
Okay.
So while I was flying, the thing is, when you're flying at Mumbai, you're in line with the Sahar airport. So what happens is, through the day, there's either pollution or too much wind or too much air traffic. So you end up clogging about 1 hour of flying, maybe.
So it was like a government job. You had a lot of time on your hands.
Played a lot of billiards that time.
Okay.
You just go and hang and play billiards and just go to college.
So your ball skills improved a lot, but your flying skills, you weren't getting a chance.
Yeah, because, normally it's the stick. So the joystick wasn't
Why
really in
go?
the hand.
I did it now. Why go deeper? I've got 11 years listening.
Flying is all about the joystick, brother.
You're right. You're
Okay.
right. And you have to take the plane up as well now that you
Absolutely.
take the metaphor forward. Yeah.
So post that, got into advertising. I had 13.
No, so you abandoned the flying thing.
Yeah, because it just didn't make sense. Didn't have the money. And
So you're what? Are you a half pilot?
I'm a half pilot, yeah.
Could you? I mean, I hate to
Yeah,
say
I
this.
can fly.
I'm not trying to not talk about the terrorists or anything, but can you? You can fly.
Yeah, I can fly.
You could actually fly a plane right now.
Yeah, except that my license are no longer valid.
No, but practically you could.
Absolutely.
If it was an emergency, we could say, Raj,
Yeah, you can
you
just
take
call
over?
me right there. I'll get you down at least.
But you'd want to play billiards in between because of habit. So.
No, I'd just be waiting for the winds to change.
Oh shit! Damn it. Indian pilots and their excuses. Well, quite sad. So were you upset that the fact that this pilot dream had to go?
Actually, no. 3 years sitting at the Bombay Flying Club and
It
just
killed your dream.
Just said like, yeah.
Isn't
really.
it beautiful how our city can kill your dreams? Such a sweet story. It's really warming me up here.
Amazingly, 30 years later, when I'm sitting with 25 years later, when I'm sitting with my friends who are pilots right now, they just look and say, why the did we not take that decision? Because really, they're just bored of just doing the same rounds 18 days.
I know.
And the fact is today, the modern planes, you don't even need them to fly anymore. They fly by themselves. They just need someone standing there and taking credit.
It's so embarrassing when they come and sit next to you or stand in the alley, in the aisle part, and there's no one flying the plane. I mean, what's the point?
Yeah, the plane doesn't need you anymore. You just want a human face behind saying, okay, this is your captain and I'm going to take you back home.
All right. So the pilot thing went out of the window, and
I had
the phrase
13 assignments.
of the colleagues of your sister.
And each one got silver, gold. And so I suddenly had this crazy portfolio. Went across to agencies. Adi Pocha was at Lintas that time.
Yeah, he had a thing called. Oh, you're right. Before he started script shop. Yeah.
So he was at Lintas doing the Bajaj commercial at that Bajaj project at that time. There was, of course, I went to contract. There was Shahini Kagal there.
Right.
I went to O&M, and I went to Adi, and I got a copy test with all three of them. And the first one who called me was contract. All three offered me
Subhash
a job.
Koshal.
Subhash Koshal, of course.
Did you get to meet him? Lovely guy.
Yeah. Worked with him too. Ishan Rai. In fact, I was
Did you do the Bengali connect there?
Not at all, actually. But the amazing part is I was at the best time at contract because there were people like Renton D'Souza, Rahul Dakuna and Prashant Godbole were a team.
Correct.
Ravi Deshpande used to be my art person.
Wow.
And I mean...
He started that lemon.
Yeah. And then you also had, people like Dada, Pradeep, Sarkar and Shivjit Kolar. It was Swapan.
So you
Singh.
had like the golden period of advertising guys mentoring you.
Absolutely. And I was all of 19. So you can just imagine at 22...
Did you drink a lot?
Oh, hell of a lot. And I had a girlfriend too. So the problem was at 5:30, I was out of my
When your main
office.
work started, and fair
Yeah, I
enough.
just ran back there. And so advertising was great. 3 years later, I realized that, I'm 22 and I have 26, 27-year-olds reporting for me. I was associate creative director and this was not my dream.
Already at 22?
Yep. I was handling 14 brands, yeah.
So you're on contract at this moment?
At contract.
And you're
yeah.
associate creative director in 3 years, and which is quite good. And you've got people working under you. Then
Yeah, and I had ridiculous amount of money.
what are you saying?
Because, advertising at that time really paid. And freelance was something else. So I was writing for Mahesh Mathais and all. So
Right.
at 22, you have ridiculous amount of money. And suddenly you realize, what am I doing with my life? I'm actually writing down people's, vacation cards and job reports and stuff like that and teaching. So I haven't learned anything to start teaching. So one day on a whim, I met...
So you were not making films of any kind? You were just copy?
Just
and head of copy?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I was handling brands like Philips Powerhouse, Music Systems and Farix and Microsoft and the works.
Farix could have been challenging.
Farix was actually very challenging because at that time...
What do you know about babies? I mean...
At that moment, I really didn't know much about babies. I just knew what they should eat.
Yeah. Or you know what would happen if you did something and how the baby is born.
Oh, that
These
came
kind of
much later, yeah.
Advertising, related accidents which happen.
Absolutely. So Farix taught me how to actually take care of babies much later in life.
Mm-hmm.
But at that moment, I realized that a lot of scripts I was writing were not turning out the way I was seeing them because, the producer knew, the film guy knew someone who was the producer and the nexus and all of that. You just eventually realized that I wrote about almost, let's say, 40 films in 3 years, and none of them really looked like I could own them and say these are
Tell
mine.
people a little bit about that whole thing because they don't understand how it works. There are a lot of people who interfere with your copy, right? Once you make your copy, you got to go to people in your own department or people above you. You got to go to clients. You got to go to clients' friends, the production people, the one who handles. Sorry?
Client's wife.
Client's wife?
She's the final say.
Or what if the client's kid is, decided to, write something really nice?
Well, even kids in that time, they didn't have a say. It's the wife's.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with it? Your ego as a creative person, was it a problem?
No, they always, these stalwarts in advertising, put their hands on my shoulder, took me for a drink and said, forget it, it's advertising. It really doesn't matter. It's not going to change anyone's life. And that's something I realized. I said, let's get out of this space. So one day I met the late Mukul Anand, and Mukul Anand was making the director of Hum Khuda Gawah Agnipath.
I loved Hum.
Yes, I loved the man. Yeah. So he just
Agnipath, of course, great. How could you forget that? Yeah.
So the man got into advertising at that time. Had just made the Pepsi commercial. Are you ready for the magic? If you remember the Remo and all that.
Yeah. Correct.
Met him.
So you made that commercial?
No, I did not. I did not. He had just finished that commercial, and I had signed up with him. I'd written a script for a Philips Music System commercial. Right. And a 3-hour drive from Mumbai to Pune to present at the Pune office and change my life. And I said, what am I doing? And in 3 years, I hadn't taken a single holiday in advertising. So I had this entire huge amount of holidays pending.
Oh, they let you accumulate the holidays?
Yeah, because you got this 30 days of leave and you got 20 days of medical leave and whatever.
Because we at the podcast, you can't do anything. We're giving like 1 day off a year, that's it. I mean, you can't come back and say, 2007, I didn't use up my holidays. Those were different days, man.
Those were wonderful
India sounds so nice in those days, except for the client's wife. Client's wife was too much. And when the client asks you to do more than that, the
only thing that's got better is the client's wife these days.
Yeah, they look really nice, do they? In those days, the clients were the prettier ones, is it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so those 3 hours to Pune change your life.
And I decided that I want to be out of advertising. I want to make films. I want to make films that I believe in, that I write. And that's how the...
As in features?
No, commercials.
Okay.
So I've done about, I'd say, over 500 commercials in the last 20 years now.
My God.
And that was the bread and butter. That was the fun. And that was the entire thing. It was my provident fund cum pension fund. Be there, like all my stalwarts said, make the money. It doesn't matter. Get the job done.
Okay, so let me just understand this. You've done 500 films in how many years?
20 years.
In 20 years. Would you remember all of them?
No, but when everything shifted from film to digital, and suddenly I realized my godown was full of like maybe 2,000 cans of raw stock.
My God.
Which had useless value. It was just eating real estate. Whatever films I could remember, I actually digitized and put them onto hard disks and all that. The rest I just chucked off. So I think about 175.
But can I test you, because I've got lots of brands here.
Sure.
But you can't lie to me, Raj, because I can Google. So you have to tell me the story. The storyline. I'll say the brand and you give me the storyline, if you remember.
Sure.
Obviously you've done more than one, but even one of that. Hero Honda.
Hero Honda, I've actually made about 15 commercials.
Give me one, off the bat.
The first one I did was Desh Ki Dhadkan. I'm the one who wrote the line.
Oh, that's a lovely one.
Yahi to hai Desh Ki Dhadkan. And I wrote the jingle.
That went for a generation.
Yes, for 7 years they ran that.
They should pay you for that, when it recurs like that.
No copyright laws at that time, bro. But no royalties. But I can tell you one thing. That was the best thing that happened to me, because it just took me out of my comfort zone.
But Desh Ka Dhadkan is your copy?
I wrote
personally?
Yeah, that's my line.
Okay.
The agency for Honda, it was Hero Honda that time, was JWT. Mm-hmm. And Percept had got a backdoor entry in there. And we got a chance to do Hero Honda corporate. And before that, they were running something called Fill It, Shut It, Forget It.
Yeah, I remember that also.
So I turned that around. You and I are.
How old are we?
Very
Just remind me not to say I remember that, because I sound really bad then. I'll just put my hand up, okay? And so you understand, no one can listen.
Go into the nostalgia space.
Oh, man.
So I wrote that line and I remember that they gave me peanuts. They gave me price to shoot that commercial would have been something like, a launch for one small little CD 100 kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We shot that film over 19 days in 16 cities.
One ad film?
One ad film. The original cut was a 2-minute. Of course, you could never run a 2-minute.
Correct.
So the final cut was a 1-minute, but a 2-minute used to run on the corporate shows.
You shot the film for 19 days for 1 minute, technically.
Yes.
Which means if you made a 1-hour film, it would be 190 days. My God.
No, but it's a completely different setup. See, what happens is when you were trying to say Desh Ki Dhadkan, you wanted to go and encapsulate
Pan-India.
Pan-India.
Yeah.
So you went all the way up to Leh Ladakh and you shot down,
But could you do what I used to do in college plays? Just put a sign saying Surat, then another one saying Haryana, another one saying Badlapur. You just have to put a sign. Indians look the same. I'm convinced Indians look the same.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
What the hell did you do, Raj?
I made tons of money, bro.
You made tons of money and you made a great commercial. I still remember it. Let me test you now on a few more. Again, the first that comes to mind, again, I know you've done many ads of the brand. Surf.
Well, my first commercial, actually, I used to be, while I was still working with contract, a friend of mine there was a new product called Ala that Hindustan Lever was launching. And Ala
It's
actually...
not Ala Bhatt, the actress.
No. Ala actually means, it's a Turkish word for a bleach.
Oh.
Okay? So, like Ala, kitna
Not
Ala hai?
Marathi for come.
No.
And when I say come, you know what I mean.
I know.
Yeah,
no.
okay, right.
So they were doing a test marketing for Ala, and the thing was, they wanted someone to do what we have is with 500 grams, 100 grams free kind of
Right,
thing. So
yeah.
ये promo तो कर देगा, तो तेरे को मैं Ala की film दिला दूंगा यार. So my first film was a surf promo.
Right.
And that's essentially how it started, about this woman blindfolded, holding 2 packs, feeling that one pack on the right is heavier, and she takes the blindfold off and she says, because it's 100 grams extra.
Where's the Ala word?
Oh, so that is the first step to doing the Ala commercial.
Oh.
So you do always to do an entry, you do a little bit of a...
And then you get the Ala commercial.
So I gave him the 100 grams extra.
Okay, fair enough. You'll get nothing on our show, I can tell you that. Good night.
Again, ridiculous number of good night commercials I've done. Well, they had come out with a very simple thing. Okay, one of the commercials, there are quite a few of them. The one of the thing was they'd come out with the tablet, the mosquito repellent tablet,
Right.
with a silver foil on it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so
I'm saying, of course, there are pages me. Dad, stop me. Yeah.
So again, that was about that silver lining. So I did an entire commercial. I remember the model was Shraddha Nigam, and this kid and him racing. He's racing and winning this race and all of that, and everything was about that silver lining. And that essentially was the commercial.
Do they still have that good night, that biscuit-like thing?
I really don't know.
What kind of advertising guy? You don't care about the product anymore.
No, because the product has changed so
It's
much.
like your children, you have to follow their lives.
I think now they have a liquid or something, which is like all out, which you put in there and switch it.
Oh my God, how things change overnight. S. Kumar's.
S. Kumar's. First S. Kumar's commercial with Saurav Ganguly
Yes.
in Mauritius.
Yes.
3 commercials actually with him just after he'd become captain. And I remember we did the first thing, like Dhoni's all about the haircuts. We actually
Right.
gave sort of Dada a haircut. And 3 nice commercials about boosted suitings. One was about him holding a child because the ball's gone.
Was he
out the
okay to
roof.
work with?
Superb.
Yeah.
I've done, I would say, 20-25 commercials with Saurav Ganguly across the brands. Okay. One of the
Because we
most...
hear he's a bit difficult, he's a bit,
He's actually
he's the
not.
prince, he's the king, he doesn't listen.
He is. Okay. But you treat a prince with royalty.
Okay.
You give him, you work around him and you give him his comfort zone, he loves you.
Yeah.
If you start taking him there, start telling him and do it like this, he can't do it. Like, I have to tell you this commercial, this was one of the biggest disasters in my life. It was for Hero Honda. It was Hrithik Roshan and Saurav Ganguly.
Oops.
Okay. And the commercial was about Hrithik Roshan trying to bat better than Saurav Ganguly.
And sort of dancing, I remember
Yes,
this.
I got bajjed on that.
I like that commercial, it was very funny.
So I had Farah Khan choreographing it. I had everyone to pad me there. But the fact is, Saurav can't dance. Okay. And another fact I have to tell
That's
you.
so sad, yeah.
Hrithik can't bat.
Are you
The only
serious?
time he played cricket was with a tennis ball.
He can't play cricket?
No.
What kind of Indian is Hrithik? I want his passport right now.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, like, Saurav can't dance, Hrithik can't
But
play
dance
cricket.
is not important. What Indian man
What's
can
wrong
dance?
with you?
You have 4 beers and you're all to the bhangra, that's it.
The country on marriages only wants to dance. Does anyone play cricket in weddings?
Fair enough.
So
When you
okay.
put it that way. And every Indian is married. You have to admit that. Some are married more than once. All right. But the idea was good. And again, I shouldn't say I remember it, but I do remember the commercial, which is the main point. Many years have passed. 20 years maybe.
Yeah, so that one was a killer for me because, and the most important part of the commercial was I got both of them in combination for 2 hours. So 80% of Hrithik's portion is shot with a Saurav double, and 80% of Saurav's shoot is with a Hrithik double.
Isn't this the way it works always with big stars?
Yeah, but it's a killer, dude. It's really a killer because,
Hello, Raj. Parliament functions like that. Half the time only one party is attending. The other party doubles are put there. It's like that. Just opposition doesn't turn up.
That's so true. Yeah, that's so true.
All right, but let me try 2 more. But I must say, you've got a good memory. For 500 plus, and keeping in mind that all these brands, you've done multiple sort of films. Burn All.
Burn All. I've done again 4 or 5 of Burn All, including the last one, which was a year ago. But I shot a Burn All commercial in the UK. I was there during the NatWest series, the one that Saurav Ganguly removed his shirt.
The Andrew Flintoff riposte.
Yeah, and Kef and Yuvraj saved the day.
326 we chased in the final.
Yes.
Again, don't say the year.
No.
They'll understand. So let's just go back a bit.
So let me tell you again, this was an entry again with JWT, J. Walter Thompson's. They just got the Bernal account. And frankly, half the agency people wanted a holiday. So they said,
and how come it's England always for holiday? Nobody, it's not Myanmar.
Sweltering heat out here. Winter was lovely. The weather was lovely. I think end May, beginning June. Landed up, and London I've shot a lot. I've shot a feature there, I've shot a lot of commercials. So London was like, my backyard. I just called this friend of mine and said, हम लोग आ रहे हैं यार. अच्छा script क्या है पता नहीं, वो लिख रहे हैं, हम लोग आ रहे हैं. It essentially really happened like that. And I shot this with Gurpreet was the girl and the guy was Khalid. And
these are regular models.
Yeah, regular.
Khalid did a film or two.
Yeah.
Remember?
Khalid is
Subhash Ghai film.
Really nice guy.
Yeah.
And Gurpreet was, again, she's also done films now. So the idea was that, again, Dr. Morpin was the client and he had bought the franchise of Burn All. Now, Dr. Morpin is all about a 70-year-old Mr. Suri and nostalgia. So the story was about a young couple on a honeymoon in London, and she's serving him a cup of coffee and she burns her hand on a Sunday morning, and there's no help around. So where will this man
go? And if it's Suhag Raat, he needs his hand, for God's sake.
So this man's running through the streets of London trying to find a chemist, and the only way he can get is he gets a Burn All there. So
I love this story, Raj. So the Indian guy running on the streets of London to find an open chemist to get Burn All.
Yes. Yeah. So that's advertising. It was also
the magic.
And the best part is after the film was done and over, guess what the client's wife had to add?
What?
एंड में जब उनका हाथ पकड़ते हैं ना तो उस पे एक हिंदुस्तानी गाना चाहिए. Guess what the song was?
What?
Chandan Sabadan.
Oh, come on.
So that's what he said.
And you played it?
Of course I did it. I'm in advertising.
You don't even have to ask me twice.
Of course not. You just do the job. You got a great holiday in London. You got paid shitloads of money. What else do you want?
I'm telling you that 1 year in advertising is better than 1 year in the army for Indians. It teaches you compromise. The spirit of compromise to live happily ever in marriage, in building societies, and everywhere.
Not just compromise. I think the word is detachment.
Disconnect.
You just disconnect and say, "ठीक है यार, this pays the bill." Because frankly, no one knows advertising people outside the advertising fraternity. Okay, and it's a great life. It's a wonderful life.
It was a great life, huh? Now they're struggling. I've seen some advertising
people. Of course, they're struggling.
Outside Jangir Art Gallery telling me, "Give me work," and all. It's embarrassing. Alik Padamsi, Prahlad Kakkar. I mean, these are big names. Mahesh Matai. All the names he's mentioned.
But right now what's really killed them is the digital world. Everyone wants to make a film for digital.
Yeah.
But they want it shot like a proper advertising film.
Yeah, so no budget, but same thing.
Yeah. So, it really doesn't make sense anymore. Yeah. I mean, really, I don't want to go and set up this huge shot in Leh Ladakh with a 5D.
Correct.
It doesn't inspire me
And so you have no money for the model, so you just have to ask a passerby.
You have no money, period. So someone is sitting alongside you, one small little tattoo, gets a little laptop and actually edits it. Their only client says, "Theek nahi laga, ek aur le lo."
Wow.
So that is really what's happened to advertising.
So in all this, the only thing that hasn't changed, technology has changed, the attitude has changed, but the clients have remained the same.
Yeah,
which is important.
See, the film, the hero is the product. Okay, so the karta dharta of the product is the client.
Did you explain that to Ritik and Saurabh when you shot that commercial?
Oh, both did their bit. No, I was the one who suffered. They did their bit, took shitloads of money and went off. It was wonderful for them.
Speaking of shitloads of money, we don't have any on this podcast, but we will one day, thanks to Raj. Very interesting stories. We'll come back and talk some more. He's been speaking of disconnected and detachment. Now we talk about your second innings and this new phase in your life where I think you want to be a little detached when we come back.
Finding the right drink at the right place can be a big challenge. Exploring a new destination to its fullest could be a daunting task.
So tune in every Friday and listen to the Drinks and Destinations podcast with Rajita and Samira, who introduce you to the world of fine wines, beer, spirits, and travel.
You can subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Audioboom, or any other local podcast app.
Okay, Raj Kaushal, writer, director, a man who made over 500 ad films and now is regretting a lot of them. Not the quality of the product, but what he had to endure making those films. Who he had to actually... But a lot of people think from outside the glamour world, Raj, and please correct me, that it's a really easy life and all that. But it's quite painful at points trying to get your story put across, trying to get people to understand what you're trying to do, and then to compromise on budgets, money, etc.
I think advertising really sharpens you a lot because, when you have so much of a story... And let's break it down. 30 seconds is really what you need to say everything to. You take 3-4 seconds off on the logo. Okay, 1.5 second, which is in your final, it's a Sony kind of branding. You essentially have about 3 to 5 seconds of demo. So in a 30 seconder, after your establishing shot, you have like 11 or 12 seconds to say a story. And then you sell the product. And that actually gets you down to 8 frames, 12 frames. What I'm saying 12 frames is 24, 25 frames make a second. So that kind of sharpness comes into your story. You actually catch expressions which are just that much.
So you have to convince the consumer in 11 seconds to buy what you want.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely.
You've convinced me with that Saurav and Ritik thing. What was the product?
Hero Honda.
There you go. But my mom didn't let me ride a bike, so it's another story altogether. Okay, sorry to interrupt here, but because before we run out of time, there's lots more I want to talk about. After this advertising, you went into features also?
Yes.
You did a couple of films?
Yeah.
Just give us a little taste of the feature world, then we'll come to what's happening now.
Okay, my first feature was a film called Pyar Mein Kabhi Kabhi. Amazing idea, because Shailendra Singh from Percept called me and said, मेरे पास 80 लाख रुपए हैं.
Yeah.
मेरे पास एक idea, I want to make something like Fame Academy.
Yeah.
A youthful film. बना दे.
Then he took 10 lakhs and gave you 70 and you started making the film. Oh no, we love Shailendra.
No, but that way he actually stuck by that one.
So who was in Pyar, the film?
Let me give you this thing of that. So Pyar Mein Kabhi Kabhi happened to be, I went to him to make commercials. He said, film bana de. Alright. I had never made a commercial before, a feature before. I had worked on features with Mukul, but it's a different ball game altogether, because I came from the house of, Subhash guys and Mukul Anand and stalwarts like that, where we took 300 days to shoot a feature. I have 80 lakh rupees. So I called all my friends and whatever. So it's a film that we just made on a whim. We really had fun. 183 newcomers, including the Spot Boys. Dino Moria, Sanjay Suri, Rinki Khanna.
Well, the Spot Boys?
No. These are the faces. And we launched Vishal, Shekhar, Salim, Sulaiman.
What are you saying? Their first film?
Their first film. Vishal and Shekhar went together. I got them together.
Okay.
Salim and Sulaiman. Shan, Mahalakshmi. I can't even tell you the number of people.
All of them were the first debut music in your film?
Yeah. Musu Hasi and Wo Pehli Baar.
Yeah.
That's my first film, yeah.
Again, I'm aging myself. I just won't learn on my own show.
But that was the amazing part about that, because that experience was so wonderful, and it was actually...
So who was the lead of the film?
Dino.
Dino was the lead.
And Rinki Khanna.
Okay.
And Sanjay Suri, and it had
Suri, yes,
Shweta Salve, Akash Karnataki, Akash Sehgal.
Decent cast.
Yeah. Even this one, Longinus Fernandez.
The dance guy.
He choreographed it for the first time.
Yeah.
He acted in it. There was Geeta Kapoor.
I have to see it. Longy's acting?
Yes.
I will see it now.
We made him play a cricket.
Let's stop the podcast. I need to see it. I can't. Tell me.
So that's...
You made him play cricket and he was terrible.
We got him into it, and the film was actually Sony Picture Company's first Hindi movie. It was Columbia TriStar Sony Picture Company's first Hindi movie.
Right.
And but I realized that after working on Pyar Mein Kabhi Kabhi, with all the things that get involved in it, that I was flat broke after 9 months of making a feature. Because features really, they take everything away from you, but they give you all that glory, but they just take the money away. And then I got married.
Because you couldn't do anything else.
You can't do anything else at that time. So for 4 years I told myself...
So after being a factory of money-making ad films and accepting the client's wife's vision and allowing Saurav Ganguly to dance only once in 13 ad films, you suddenly were 9 months stuck on one project.
Yeah.
Is that so?
Yeah. And the thing is, none of us knew how to market a film. We knew how to market a film. We didn't know how to make a film a success. It was a completely different setup. Those were the days when there were no multiplexes. So things were about distributors or whatever. So we realized that the film worked brilliantly, but we made no money. So we got back into advertising. I just got married. I needed a new, bigger house. I needed, can't feature karte rahenge yaar.
And let me just tell viewers, Mandira is your wife. The Mandira. Was she famous when you got married?
She had done Shanti. When I met her, she was already
famous.
She
was big. Shanti was big.
Yeah.
What, 1 million episodes of that damn show? I couldn't bear it after some time. Yeah.
So... in fact, even a honeymoon was a part of a recce for a Escomar's and a Donia shootings film.
Where?
Salzburg and Amsterdam.
Wow, how convenient. Client, I think this Escomar's will work in a European setting. It's beautiful. I love your thinking.
So for a few years, went back into advertising because really need to make the money back here. And my thing was that, if this is not going to pay, it didn't pay the bills because this is not what I want to end up doing all my life. So took a couple of years sabbatical from features and made commercials, and then made a second film just after Mandira did the World Cup in 2003.
Right.
Bad mistake. Shouldn't do stuff like that. I made a film called Shadi Ka Laddu.
Right. Why is it a bad mistake?
Because the film started with fun, but the producers ran away halfway. We were shooting the film in London, and then everything that had to go wrong went wrong.
Who are the producers?
These,
okay, you don't want to name them.
Yeah, really.
So they actually ran away?
The money never turned up. We went London.
So now you're worried about client's wife. How beautiful was the client's wife in advertising?
Absolutely.
All she did was change your music, change the ending, change the model's eyebrows. Usme kya hai?
The reason why I said bad mistake.
Bad mistake. Advertising is lovely. Features is a terrible world of dungeon and animals and killers and things like that.
Completely agree. So made this film called Shadi Ka Laddu. Okay, which essentially was about,
Sunil Shetty and all?
No. It had Ashish Chaudhary, Mandira Bedi, Sanjay Suri and Nigar Khan and Samita Bangargi.
Right.
And that was one that
So you
really
completed the film after the
I completed the
guys-
film. I put the film out.
with your own money.
Yeah, and that film really got me into a very bad space because, like I said, I didn't know distributors and all. So I've like sold my Hyderabad territory for 80 lakh rupees. I get 15 lakh rupees as an advance. On the day, on a Thursday before the release, the distributor is supposed to come pay you the balance money and take the negative. The distributor doesn't turn up.
Why?
He says, I don't want your film.
And the 15 lakhs?
So I've only got 15 lakhs, okay?
Right.
But I've got 65 lakhs I have to pay bills off.
Oh.
So the man doesn't turn up. Then he calls me in the middle of the night and says, listen, okay, I'll take your film, but I'll take it for 20 lakhs.
Oh.
So either you don't release it in the entire Hyderabad sector, or you settle for 20 lakhs and you give it.
And you lose money anyway.
Yeah, so what happened is Delhi, Hyderabad, Chennai, Bihar.
Oh.
4 territories messed me up close to 80-85 lakhs. I have bounce checks with me, and that time, of course, there was nothing. People give you a bounce check, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh, demand draft to do.
So you have to go to court in Bihar. It will take a long
exactly.
time.
In fact, he put a court case on me saying the film was so bad that people who sat in the theaters actually tore the theater, so the seats, so please pay me 5 lakh rupees for renovation.
My God.
So this was such a scam.
How creative are they? Why don't you use these guys for writing?
No, I realize I'm not as creative as them, so I don't want to be in that space.
I have 2 words for you, Raj. I don't want to preach, but 2 words. Client's wife.
Client's wife.
Now, doesn't she look beautiful? Doesn't she look
Why
just
do you think
superb?
I'm still making commercials 20 years later, bro?
So so that was terrible. So you had a very bad financial experience through all this.
Yeah, so that one just sucked me dry in a really bad way. I was like, in 2004, I was down with litigations, I was down to all of that, and like 1 crore down. And 1 crore is a lot of money, So,
You're telling us? We've never seen it. What are you talking about? What does it look like? How does it smell? How big is it? How tall? How short? Tell me.
It's exactly the suitcase that Narasimha Rao... no.
Oh! Be very careful. They might come back to power.
Harshad
What are we
Mehta.
taking too much punga with the politicians? You have to be very careful.
Okay.
But let's fast forward. So you've done your features. You did a few more also, and you went back to advertising.
Yeah.
But you just said before we started talking that you've now reached a space where you want to take like a sabbatical.
Yep,
And you're a young man in terms of creative.
No, actually, I feel young too, and I feel young for the fact that I'm actually out of advertising since that I haven't made a show reel in 3 years. Friends of mine call me whenever there's a film they want me to do, and I just do it. So from doing 35 films a year, I do about maybe 3 or 4 a year, and it's really wonderful. I haven't even updated my.
But how do you pay the bills?
Because the bills are taken.
You married the client's wife.
No, actually, what happened is that like I said, there was the golden age, and you really made decent money that time.
Right.
And if you invest your money in the right places, at the end of the day, we're eating lesser, we're dressing lesser, our needs have become much
No, but
lesser.
Raj, here's a tough question. As a creative person, is there a point where you feel bored with the medium? Is that what happens also?
Yeah, you get
for
bored
people
with
who
the
come into
medium.
advertising.
You get very bored with the medium because a young small little thing, writer writes a script and gives it to you. It doesn't even make sense. The client loves it. They want you to do a 45-minute interpretation of how you see the film for a 30-seconder. So really, there's so much of an ego massage.
Why don't you write a book? This is really funny stuff.
Yeah, dude, seriously, down to what size of the bindi should it be? If it's a bigger bindi, it's a bolder woman.
So you just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you end up doing multiple films for the same client, you realize that you are really, really, it's almost like a record and play. They want to hear the same things just to feel assured the other guy will do.
And
I've done 7 commercials for you for surf.
And
Yeah,
it's
why
the
you asking
same
me?
areas of argument.
Yeah, and the client keeps
Did
changing.
you ever walk out on a client?
No, not really. But
Did you ever scream at one or...
no.
Did you ever really lose it with a client? Did you
No,
ever say
that's why I
enough
lasted
today?
20 years.
Okay.
Okay.
But now it's just a matter of time before you do, so you don't want to go back.
Absolutely, because you just realize that it's damn good. You've got their best interest in mind. I mean, you don't want to mess it up. They're putting a lot of money. They're launching a product or whatever. I get it, yeah.
Yeah, but they take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
If you're selling a Fevicol, you're selling a Fevicol.
But you got to tell them, you don't teach your father how to. Like really.
How to? My father. I don't know. All right, Raj, before we wind up, where do you go from here? Now, you've done 500 films, you've conquered advertising, you've tasted feature films, maybe you don't want to do that right now. So what's next? What do you do?
I essentially realized that before I got into advertising, that essentially I'm an ideas person. I have thoughts, I have views, and I'm not too educated. I don't have
Deep down, Raj Kaushal was a copywriter. That was your first.
Yes, you have ideas and you think differently. So, I'm actually pursuing spaces like that. In fact, there's a new thing that Roshan Abbas has started called Storytellers. And it's about
That's
narrating.
not new. That's been done by many civilizations.
Sure.
You call a guy, tells you a story. But
Yeah,
it's
so
not-
I'm doing stuff like that, writing 5-minute stories, nostalgic from life. I'm writing the other day, last year, I came up with a thought, and It took me 17 days and I wrote something about 190 pages.
That alone is funny. Last year you came up with the thought.
Yeah, and it took me 17 days to just write it, and I wrote it into a 190 page thing. I didn't write as a film or a book or whatever.
So what will you do with that?
How does it matter? The fact is that if you can put pen to paper and you can put your thoughts into reality, is really what you need to explore.
I had a thought last week which I thought was great. I had a thought that if I pee a little bit outside the bed, will it dry by the time everybody wakes up? Instead of getting up and peeing.
Depends how much you pee.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, maybe if it's not too much, would it... So I'm saying there are original thoughts out there. These are thoughts no one has thought of before. Immediately you've got a big sort of original moment. No, I'm just making fun. Don't pay any attention, Raj. Go back to your life. Yeah. So you've reached a point where, are you saturated, you think? Or do you just feel that there's more to life than this?
No, I'm actually getting a life back here. So the last 6 months, I've been traveling a lot. And I've taken up stuff like...
But you've got young kids, right?
I've got a 5-year-old, yes.
A 5-year-old.
And he's sorted. He's sorted completely. Mandira's hands-on, so there's nothing to it. And it really doesn't take much to take a weekend off in a month.
Right.
But you need that weekend.
Like this is when Raj goes alone?
Yeah, Raj is going alone. Raj is going with family. Raj is going catching up with old friends. Raj is just...
So you make sure once a month you do something outside the space?
The minimum, yeah. I've been this friend of mine has bought this property in Malvan, about 200 kilometers north of Goa. Mm-hmm. And he's building a house there. And the land is so beautiful that the beach... at 7 in the evening, you won't find even a stray dog. You can hear leopards, you can hear wild boars. So it's that kind of a remote place. And he's building a beautiful shack there. And he's got a river on one side and the ocean on the other. I go and angle there. I just went to Andamans with Mandira in Feb. I think Andamans is gorgeous. So the next plan is next week I'm going to Rishikesh. A friend of mine, he's,
How will people know India is a poor country if you have this kind of lifestyle?
It doesn't need money.
How do I tell the foreigners to come and put more money in when Raj is off to Andamans, next week Lakshadweep, the week after Singapore? It's not right.
But it's not expensive. It really is not expensive. Seriously, if you want to do Rishikesh, okay, you take a train, it takes 2 days, or you just fly into Dehradun, you get a 3,000, 4,000 rupee ticket. It's really not too much. Okay, and you go and stay by the banks of the Ganga on that, those tents where there's no electricity, no mobile network, nothing, just 11 degrees.
What do you do?
Nothing. Guess what? And that's the best part about it. Nothing.
But then, how long can I do nothing?
But Cyrus, the problem is the head is so cluttered that you are doing nothing. You're only doing disaster management. You wake up in the morning and you're only sorting fires.
So actually do nothing is what you're saying.
By doing nothing, you're actually removing a lot of crap out of your head, and that's when the head wakes up and starts thinking.
But no vipassana for you. No.
I'm too shallow for that.
Yeah. So you just need to go to another geography and find a place where...
Stop answering phones first. Okay? Stop being answerable. Stop being available for everything. Stop being there for everything.
So you're disconnected from society for so many days?
Very important. Because that disconnect just refreshes you. You come back feeling wonderful.
One question. Am I allowed porn?
Dude, how much porn will happen? You'll get bored of it, yeah.
I'm a bit of a connoisseur. I sort of study the market. And
it's
a scientific
get out of the city and you'll be done with the porn.
You think? What if my porn is only about rural backgrounds? Will that be okay if it's all the similar
You might just get hardcore. Why go porn, bro?
With who? I'm with you. We're in the middle of nowhere.
But rural, you will find
leopards and wild boars.
There will always be a nice
worst case scenario, he eats me and gets off on it. Damn it! Raj is not fair. This story doesn't have a happy ending. I want to meet the client's wife right now. Okay. No, so we're knocking this around, but the fact of the matter is you have what I call a slightly European bent of mind, where they seem to take time off for their life. Of course, with the recession of 2007, that changed a bit, but they always did that. They would work in projects and then they'd take time, take 6 months off, go to places, be disconnected from their old world, do those kind of things, and maybe feel some sort of spiritual growth by doing that. Is that where you're headed?
I'm actually, I'm 45 now, and I'm sorry, but you're very young, but I'm
Mandira's classmate, school and college. So we won't see how old I am.
She's much younger than me.
Yeah, okay, whatever. I'll play with that, yeah.
So my thing is, I have a philosophy. At age 20, I didn't know what I want and how to get it. At age 30, I knew exactly what I wanted and how to get it. At age 40, I've realized I don't know what I want. I don't know how to get it. The only thing I know is what I don't want. Because my 30s went, I can't remember 10 years. I can tell you the advertisement. 10
Except
years.
when you tell me those jingles, then I get the recall.
But otherwise 10 years of my life disappeared and I want to reclaim that. So the idea is...
Catch the clients.
Yeah. Actually, the idea is just go and do things you've never done before. It's not bucket list. Bucket list comes much later. Right now it's about just going and breathing, and I'm loving that aspect there.
And so on a day-to-day basis, what happens in Bombay? You're just chilling now? You write your ideas down or whatever, but you don't...
Actually, I broke it down in a way which is the first 1 hour is disaster management. Okay, so you wake up and you give that 1 hour to disaster management. Till lunch, everything, this has to be sorted, that's not working, this is a problem, you handle all of that. Post lunch, okay, till 5 o'clock, no one messes with you. That's your time. You want to watch porn, you want to watch...
That's 1 to 5, huh? 4 hours, what a long story.
Yeah, you can watch podcasts,
and
you
so
can
the
watch
pizza
whatever.
man rings the bell and then 4 hours.
Yeah, so 4 hours, you just give yourself that, okay? And sum it up in the evening, catch up with friends, catch up with people who don't work with you, and get a life here. I've realized the amount you can do if your mind relaxes. If it means to take that half an hour snooze after lunch, wake up, chill, get a nice cup of tea and watch something just...
Well, I got to say, Raj, I've heard lots of stories, but in the rat race we live in, this is a rare one in terms of finding another life inside our life. But the people I'm surrounded by, all they want to do is work hard.
There's one very important aspect, Cyrus. You have to ask yourself, how much money do you need? And if you have it, stop.
Yeah, I asked myself, the answer is I don't have it, I can't stop.
No,
and my kids are hungry.
Yeah, but they really don't need that much.
No, they're like piranha. They eat everything.
Dude, we grew up on nothing actually. We spoiled
nothing.
ourselves.
My father gave me 25 rupees pocket money right up to 93. You know what? I remember asking my friend Vikram, I said, how much you get? He said, I get 500 rupees a week. And I said, I get 25 a month.
Yeah. And
Dad, why?
You did brilliantly with that, yeah?
He still gives me 25. I'm 44. By the way, that's how old we both are. Just for the record, in case you haven't checked. All right, Raj, you've been special. You've been great fun. From advertising to features to marriage with a very famous celebrity. And then to finding your second innings. Let's hope it all goes well. And please come and talk to us again. It's a very interesting life.
Sure, Saz. Let's do a part 2 Sunday. Yeah?
We will. Once you've traveled more than 25 countries, which is on your radar now.
Got that.
But before we let you go, we have an EMA section. We have a man who wants to make money. Okay. He has no interest in resting. His name is Amit. He's going to come and talk to us.
Okay, sure.
If you have any questions for Cyrus, write to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Or you can send an email to whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
All right, here on the AMAs, Amit Doshi is going to take us through with some hard-hitting questions from American politics.
No, actually, this is not really American politics. This is a listener named Geetika Gandhi. It's a pretty long question.
She's a Donald Trump supporter. I've heard of her. Go on.
Wow, you saw that this morning? Won 5 states.
Wow.
I was kind of amazed.
Lost last week, though, so the balance is back.
That's still crazy. It's amazing. It's insane how many people are voting for Donald Trump.
I think he's going all the way. What do you think, Raj?
I think he's the guy who wants to get the war back in so that money comes back in the American economy.
Well, the Americans are voting for him. 14, 15 states?
Ridiculous
1/4 of your entire economy runs on armament sales, then Donald Trump's the guy.
I guess.
But the people are supporting him.
But America loves carrying guns, yeah. I mean, go to all over the southern states.
But he's
carrying
actually
guns.
not as pro-gun as a lot of the other Republican candidates.
Yeah, but he wants he wants a war. If he has the war, it's back in there.
I heard
he's actually intervention. He's actually isolationist.
Stay away from all the other countries.
Stay away from everyone else.
And also,
but America is isolated. It's got 2 big oceans on both 2 sides.
But his foreign policy.
No, one ocean is called Canada. That's different. That's not the same thing.
Right. Anyway, Geetika Gandhi via email. Hey Cyrus, I had 2 questions for you. One, why do you think that podcasts are the future?
Amit, this is a question I throw back to you because my good friend Raj Kaushal has now already taken off for Lakshadweep.
Okay.
And will not want to answer this either. The podcasts are the future. You're the one who told us.
Well, I mean, it's my thinking is fairly simple on that, right? I mean, it's like media is basically on demand, right? I mean, that's how media is moving. Everybody wants
customized service.
Yeah, you want it when you want it. You don't want to listen to it when other people.
Let's ask him.
Yeah, podcast is the future. Absolutely. Yeah. Netflix came in and changed the game, right?
Yeah,
exactly. You will not even believe it. Hotstar, Netflix, Sony, Live.
So tomorrow's consumer will choose exactly what they want.
And when he wants it, and without advertising, and unadulterated, and real. And without censorship.
So, I mean, this is kind of
without
weird.
Censorship?
No, but this is a really weird thing to say.
The language we speak, the language you speak, Cyrus, I mean, no GEC would allow it, no censor board would allow it, but that's you. If you're
I haven't used the word even once, man.
Really?
Yeah, that's a different thing. But even the way, you want to express yourself, you speak the way you normally do.
You're right.
Yeah. You don't want to worry about whose sentiments you're hurting. Or
that's why, just for the record, and Amit, we should say this more often, our podcast is shot live and from Lakshadweep, where Raj has given us a place.
Yes.
So
it's one of those places where you don't know, it's not on the map.
It's inaccessible, so don't even bother trying to find us if you have problems with our program.
But I mean, that's what I think. I agree with you, right? I mean, Netflix is actually, so what I found is that once I got Netflix at home, I actually started pirating stuff less because it's just so easy to watch Netflix that why bother with torrenting?
Cyrus, yesterday I got approached by one of the big production houses because I had a thought of mine 10 years ago that they liked, and they just took it out of the archives and said, listen, why don't we make this into a web series? Because I think the time is right for that. And that essentially is really what's happening right now with podcasts and with web and the way digital is. And where are the kids watching TV? The kids are not watching TV. They're watching everything. The boys are watching porn on their phone, and the women are only checking out apps or checking out YouTube.
It's all YouTube.
And this really is the space. The TV is going to be, your entertainment is going to be on your phone or your laptop. Podcast is the future.
Amit, podcast is the future.
I hope it is.
So if you are Maggie, Sahara, Siemens, Goodnight, Dabur, Omax, Colgate, Nirma, Ultratech, Sierra, Zescomar, Zonia, Morrison Tourism, Orient Chicken, Simons, Colgate, TVZ, Dr. Mopen, Nahar, Bernal, Fen, Max, and you work with Raj Kaushal, he endorses us, so please call us.
Please call us. All right, so the second part of our question is actually kind of sort of serious, but I thought it would be an interesting this. Secondly, as we know that your podcast is all about the individuality of people from different spectrums of life, how hard do you think the reality of any industry is for any young girl? Someone I know has been facing the pressure where for basically the peer pressure to do drinking and smoking, and cannot escape it as she is working in an intern. And I'm modifying the English as we go around, and she worries about going to work. This is all making me very afraid. I don't know how I'll be able to face such a situation in my future.
It's a two-letter answer. You don't have to read the whole thing. It's a part of no.
Yeah.
When I don't want to drink, for example, because I'm trying to stop drinking now in the last few years, I just have to say no. And it looks difficult, but once you start doing it, it becomes easier. Mr. Kaushal, do you have a story to tell about the part
this
of
would
no?
have been something which is a problem 10 years ago. I think today people are so much more health conscious. You can't smoke anywhere. You have to be at specific places to smoke. Drugs are so not done.
But maybe she's worried that in that peer group, they push her out, so she can't go up in the corporate world.
No. Let me tell you about the corporate world. It has nothing to do with smoking or drinking.
Yeah, they don't.
What the hell, yaar?
Nobody cares.
I got an ashtray just for that.
Yeah, but 10 years ago it used to be. But it's no longer about this. It's actually about fitness. You can actually choose to be fit, and people respect you a lot in the corporate world if you're dressed right. Your tummy's tight, and you're working out, and you're well, groomed and taken care of. So she should just junk this group. It's not working.
So
Amit, he said tummy's tight. Yeah, can we move on to the next question? We should just move on.
But you know what? I think that what she's saying has. We're thinking about this from the perspective of peers of our own age, right? At our age, when we tell somebody we don't want to drink, and that's the kind of.
That's males. She's saying it from the female point of view, which is even more pressure.
No, but even 18. At 18, it was a lot tougher.
18-year-olds don't drink. I'm sorry, they smoke up. They don't drink because there's no calories. So let's not even go into that space. And really, I think health is really the issue right now, and people are not even. They don't try to be judged by.
But to answer her question, I'm seeing the part of no. Just say no.
Just say no. Just say no.
I agree. So, all right. That's all that we have from this person, and so that was it. Since it was a long question, I only got one question. But I have another question or another thing I'd like to ask you guys. Did you hear about the machine that the computer, the Google Go computer? Did you hear about this at all?
Raj has, and he will tell us.
Have you heard about this?
No, I haven't.
So,
then you will tell us, and then I will answer you.
I will tell you, right? So, the game of Go, like Chinese checkers, right? Go. Yeah. So, Google has built a computer which is doing with basically artificial intelligence that beat the best Go player in the world. And it's a self-learning computer. So basically, as it plays more games, it learns how to play the game better and better.
Well, this is scary.
Yeah, what do you think about that? So what do you think about self-learning artificial intelligence?
Very scary. If you look at films like Terminator and all, a lot of...
They'll take over the world.
Yeah.
No, they just won't take over the world. They take over the world without any emotions, which is the worst thing. They kill us and...
I don't know if that's the worst thing. Sometimes I feel there's just too much emotion also.
No, but what you're saying is absolutely true, right? If artificial intelligence does not have morality, which is one of the problems there, right? If there's no morality to artificial intelligence, then how do they make decisions about what the value of human life is?
Do we have a political offshoot group like that? No, that's not the same thing.
I don't think so.
But if you read Brajesh's book, Quantum Intelligence, Quantum Siege, which essentially also dealt with something. I just think, you have to at one point hold it back. You have to go back to basics.
That's why you go to your holidays and your retreats where you're back with nature and away from all this.
But another amazing part of Cyrus, I've been without a phone, in patches about 3 times already in the last 6 months. Once my phone got vajjed in the water in Andaman, so 10-12 days I was out of any kind of digital network and no Facebook, no whatever. It is it's a revelation. It is so relaxing. It's so wonderful. Seriously, you have to cut back.
He's going the other way. What about artificial intelligence taking over the universe? He's going the other way, saying,
what happens is if you
right?
stop relying on them so much, okay, and you start doing the basics. Very simple thing, you don't need to take the car everywhere. Walk, if you can start cutting.
Wouldn't it be nice to have a wife, for example, who's artificially intelligent persona and does exactly what we want when we want, including don't talk now.
Listen, nothing in life comes without a price.
The power of no. Why didn't I use that before?
She'll come with such expensive batteries.
Oh, you're right. There's always going to be a catch. Raj Kaushal, for bringing us down. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
If you admire Cyrus's bosoms just like we do, follow Cyrus Says on Facebook and Twitter. And that's what Cyrus says.
All right, Cyrus Says is wrapping up, but we have Geek Fruit, which we want you to check out, hosted by Uber Geeks Tejas Menon and Jishnu Guha. They're like Simon and Garfunkel, except they're Tejas and Jishnu, and they can't sing. No, they can actually. And they talk about geek culture. If you're a geek or want to know about geeks or live with a geek or just next to Turkey is geek, go ahead, my friends. Listen to Geek Fruit.
Our podcasts bring all the boys to the yard, and damn right, they're better than yours. But you don't need to stand outside in the yard. Just follow IVM Podcasts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We might be on Tinder too. Just go ahead and swipe right.